Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving right into that universal, absolutely agonizing feeling of knowing exactly what you need to do, but feeling completely, totally paralyzed to actually start doing it. Look, we've all been there, right? You have a big project, you know getting it done will make your life so much better, but you just sit there, staring at a blank screen, feeling like you're literally chained to your chair. So, let me ask you something directly. Are you lazy, or are you actually just stressed out? Think about that painfully relatable moment when you're facing down a massive task. Instead of just typing that first word, you suddenly decide that right now is the absolute perfect time to go to the kitchen, wipe down all the countertops, and brew like 5 cups of tea. Is that laziness? Or is there something much deeper, something deeply biological, happening inside your head? Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. We are going to start with why you're not lazy, just stressed. Then, we'll map out the procrastination cycle. Third, we'll uncover the shocking power of boredom. And finally, we'll hit 3 rules for actually getting things done. So, kicking things off with Section 1, not lazy, just stressed. You know, society loves to sell us this myth. The myth is that if you put things off, you're just unorganized, unmotivated, or frankly, just lazy. But the neurological reality tells a completely different story. It all starts the absolute second a new task hits your brain. If you've got a huge, terrifying test coming up, your brain registers the fear, it registers the stress. And what does it do? It acts like a wildly overprotective parent. It basically says, whoa, let's avoid this negative emotion, let's calm down, and we'll just look at this later.
Basically, procrastination is not a time management problem. It's an emotion management problem. It's literally a defense mechanism. Your brain actively prefers immediate calm, so it deliberately pushes off the scary, pressure-filled task just to temporarily escape the anxiety. It shields you from the stress right up until the very last minute when the sudden, massive panic of a looming deadline finally forces you to jump in.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Procrastination Cycle. Imagine a scenario where the stakes are incredibly high. We're talking about a massive 50-point research paper that's going to dictate your entire grade. To your brain, high stakes equal high danger. The alarm bells start ringing. Because the danger of failing is so high, the pressure mounts. And suddenly, like magic, everything else in the universe seems incredibly fun. Drinking a whole tank of tea and visiting the kitchen every 60 seconds? Yeah, that suddenly becomes your top priority.
And here is exactly how that psychological trap works step by step. Step 1 is doubt. You look at that 50-point paper and think, man, this is too complicated, it's going to take forever. That doubt leads directly to step 2, which is anxiety. You start overthinking everything instead of just starting. That anxiety grows, bubbles over, and becomes step 3, fear of failure. And here's the absolute worst part. That fear of failure feeds right back into your initial doubt. It completely restarts the whole vicious cycle. Which brings us to Section 3, the shocking power of boredom. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the core solution. It's an ultimatum. You give yourself exactly 2 choices. Option A, you sit down and do the task. Or option B, you do absolutely, completely nothing. You stare at a blank wall, no phone, no TV, no social media, and for sure, absolutely no making tea. You strip away every single alternative that could give your brain a quick hit of joy. To show you just how wildly effective this is, think about this famous psychological experiment. Researchers put participants in an empty room. They stripped away all the distractions. No phones, no books, zero. The only thing in the room with them was a button that, if they pressed it, delivered a painful electric shock. And they were told to just sit there and do nothing. The result is honestly kind of mind-blowing. Rather than endure absolute mind-numbing boredom, a majority of the people actually chose to press the button and shock themselves. Think about that. They chose physical pain over doing nothing. That is exactly how much the human brain absolutely despises a vacuum of stimulation.
And that brings us to this incredibly powerful concept. Your brain will choose work over absolute boredom, but only if you remove all distractions. If you corner your brain by eliminating every single escape route, if you literally refuse to allow yourself to check your phone or wander off to the fridge, your brain is going to desperately want stimulation. Eventually, it'll look at that 50-point research paper and say, you know what? Fine. Studying is actually better than staring at this wall.
Let's hit Section 4, 3 rules for getting done. And this brilliantly illustrates our first rule. Break tasks down into really small stages. Remember, your brain hates giant, looming threats.
If you slice a massive project into tiny 5-minute stages, it completely stops looking like a threat. Plus, every time you finish one of those tiny chunks, your brain gets a nice little hit of accomplishment. It tricks your brain into actually enjoying the process.
Rule 2 is to partner up with someone focused. Find a study or work partner. Body doubling or just being around someone else who's working hard is incredibly motivating, but our source gives a very clear, kind of funny warning here. Do not pick someone worse than you. Seriously, if you pick a partner who's also a master procrastinator, you're both just going to end up in the kitchen making tea and complaining all day. Choose someone who pulls you up.
Rule 3 is what we call the manager hack. Even if a project is totally personal and there's no real penalty for putting it off, you need to invent some immediate external accountability. Call a friend or a family member and tell them, hey, I'm going to finish this section in exactly 2 hours and I'm going to send you my progress. Boom, you just created a manager. Suddenly, you have a deadline and you have to perform.
But what happens if you try all this and you still mess up? The source gives some harsh but incredibly fair advice here. If you miss your deadline, admit failure. Don't make excuses. Don't tell yourself it was too hard or there wasn't enough time or justify it by saying you just really needed some tea. Look at the situation honestly. Admit you failed this round, reset, and try again.
So the crucial point is perfectly captured right here. Don't make excuses and don't drink tea. It's a lighthearted running joke, but the core message is huge. Procrastination is just your brain trying to protect you from stress by finding comfortable distractions. But now that you know the actual science, you can completely outsmart your own brain. Cut the distractions, ditch the excuses, and stay out of the kitchen.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. You've got the tools now. The boredom ultimatum, breaking tasks down, partnering up, and the manager hack. So, out of those 4, which strategy are you going to use to conquer your very next stressful task? Don't wait until tomorrow to decide. Pick one right now, strip away those distractions, and show your brain who's really in charge. Thanks for exploring with me today.